Tony Gyepi-Garbrah. Parents are from Ghana, born in Boston, grew up in Virginia, Alexandria to be exact. Went to college in Fairfax, Virginia, George Mason University. Double majored finance and management information systems. I get a lot of inspiration just like from walking down the street. Like growing up in Virginia, like whenever I get time, if I'm not out with my friends, I spend more time with myself. Normally I tell people it's not about what I do, but who I am. And who I am is me. Nothing complex about that. I'm just a person. A person that's into a multitude of different things, like everything from like art, music, motorcycles, eating, you know, comic books, sports, a number of different things, and a lot of those things can actually evolve and change over time. Which is the fact I waited about a good year and a half.
And this is 1973, right?
Yeah, this motorcycle is 45 years old. A black man in America. I mean, there's nothing else about that. And a black man in America, I mean, the way I am is more so like, that way that I was brought up is, you focus more so on yourself, you focus on getting what you need to do done, and you focus on being the best at whatever it is that you do. So like, let's say if the level of expectation is I gotta have like an undergrad degree or whatever, you know, I gotta get a master's or something, or if not that, I just gotta like put more time and energy into it. So it's not even necessarily about education per se, because over time, I got people, friends that I met who went to high school, even didn't finish high school, and like the stuff that they're doing now is like above and beyond like what you would have thought that they could have get to back in high school and so forth. So as far as me growing up within America, I remember in Boston, even in Virginia, stories of like people being like, oh, like, you know, you're burnt toast, you know, dark skin or whatever. Like they say stuff like, oh, you're African booty scratcher or whatever. So a lot of different stories, and a lot of those stories actually came from my African American counterparts, you know. And for me, none of that never really affected me. It was always more so about like, look, at the end of the day, I know that I gotta get to where I need to go. I gotta make my parents proud, and I got to keep pushing.
Voila.
Discrimination, a lot of stuff is actually done indirectly. Like nowadays, things used to be more like defined, where you would know exactly where you stand, but now a lot of things are actually done subtly, where it's almost done like underminingly, where you may not even notice, but after a while, when you notice, you're excluded. But as far as discrimination, I could share a number of stories. I remember around like 98 or 99, I worked at Baskin Robbins, manager, whichever. Shout out to all my friends from Baskin Robbins. And I remember an incident when I was actually going home late at 10 o'clock at night. I get home after work, I go home, change, you know, take a shower, get out, and then I hear like a loud knock at the door. I run down, open the door, and there's two police officers. So at the door, they're asking me like, where are your brothers? Like, you know, who's here? Which I was like, well, my brothers are in New York. Like, what are you doing here? And they're like, well, who lives here? I was like, I live here. What's the issue? They're like, well, we need to talk to the person in the house or whichever, right? So long story short, my parents, like being African parents, you know, they're like, oh yeah, you know, come in or whatever. So what actually happened is there's a robbery at gunpoint of a Papa John's police delivery person. So they brought me outside of my house and did the whole floodlight flash on me, like neighbors all like, yo, what's going on? And eventually what ended up happening is, of course, it had nothing to do with it. So I do remember later on picking up the phone and placing the order Papa John's, and there was an issue where the lines crossed. So what essentially happened, they're holding me for about 3 or 4 hours outside and asking me all these questions. And when then I start asking them like specific questions, like, look, I told you that I got off of work. We could go and check like the log over there. You know, I was here, I was not across the bridge, etc., etc. You know, they started to like make threats towards my twin sister, right? So I remember like one of the officers saying like, look, like what I could do is I could like put you and your sister in handcuffs and put you guys in jail, yada yada. And I was like, wait a minute, I mean, that's no way to actually talk to people. So eventually they found out that, oh, we have the wrong guy. You know, he had nothing to do with it. They brought the actual Papa John's employee over to identify me, and I wasn't identified. So what they ended up doing afterwards, they actually sent in one of their a female police officer. I remember, I think she was Puerto Rican, but we're all still like, you know, African descent, but they sent her in to pacify the whole situation. And that was like one of the many incidents of, you know, discrimination.
How did it make you feel?
I mean, the way that it made me feel was like, you know, more so, not even about me, more so upset about like what my parents felt. Like seeing their son being questioned, even if I had nothing to do with it. There's just like far too many stories where people are accused of things that they haven't done, right? And it's more so where it's like set up where you're guilty till proven innocent. You have to like do whatever you can to clear your name. And a lot of times people fall short on that. And it becomes like a norm, you know? So for me, the main hurtful thing was like looking at my parents, like seeing how they felt. And also like, you know, my twin sister being there and them having to observe all that. Because I can endure whatever, but when it's about family, you know, that's like a much different story.